brought a notebook, but don't be afraid. Okay, I'm really anxious to get to share this with all of you today. I'm gonna cry too. But not once I get started, because it's such a happy thing to share. My name's Michelle, and I was a good friend of Jim's. I was blessed with that. Okay, so today I get to share with all of you my personal and profound experience with my friend Jim Memorial. First of all, my husband and I have known Jim for about 9 years, before we even had our first child, who's now 8, and we've had 2 more since then. It seems oddly like much longer than 9 years. Jim extended kindness, gentleness, and generosity in every way that he walked through his life. When he received his diagnosis of lymphoma 5 years ago, I began to watch him more closely. You see, my mom had passed away 11 and a half years ago from lung cancer. Her journey was short, just 8 months, and tragic and desperate. I watched Jim walk through every up and every down with the utmost grace. I can actually see better these days without my glasses up close. I watched him continue to celebrate and enjoy his life every chance he could, from his work to his running marathons to boating and to time with his family and his friends. 2 years ago, I discovered that I too had metastatic cancer. It was in my lung, and I had 3 small children. My youngest was only 5 months old. Jim made his experience with cancer and his spirituality accessible to me. And we met and talked at length about the anxiety, the fear of the unknown, and the seemingly impossible way in which to go on living and enjoying life while living with such an unforgiving beast like cancer. He helped soothe me then. We shared more than just one common peril. However, the real profound lesson that Jim taught me came during a 3-hour visit I shared with him late one night, about 2 weeks after he had stopped treatment and come home to die. He wanted to talk about death, his death. He wanted to share some thoughts with his family that he had about being a father, a brother, and a man. These are some of the things he told me. He had only one regret in his life. It was about a risk he was too afraid to take. Yet this same experience showed up also on the much longer list of things he felt good about in his life. He loved his family. He felt he was a good father. He loved his grandchildren, and they're beautiful and brave. He loved his home very much. He felt comfortable and connected in his home. He loved his work. And when I said it must be really great to help people hear who couldn't hear before, his eyes lit up. He said, "Yeah, you didn't get the wow that often, but when you did." He loved his boat. When he expressed that he did wish that he could have been a good husband, we laughed together when I suggested perhaps he was meant in this life to be a good husband to his beloved boat. He told me there were only a few times in his life where he felt lonely. He felt so strongly, spiritually connected to the people in his life, his work, and the things he loved to do, that his life was full and he was content in the quiet moments he spent alone. Jim told me he had always wanted to write a book. He said he would have titled it An Ordinary Man. I said, well, it would have been fiction then. And And again we laughed. Jim was no ordinary man. He was extraordinary every way, especially I have learned by the way he chose to die well. Jim's choice to die well was a commitment, an immeasurably valuable gift to those who love him. I came today wanting to share some of the profound ways that Jim's life has changed me and fortified my life. Jim did not lose his battle with cancer, nor was he a victim of cancer. In fact, in the days and weeks before Jim's passing, cancer was not even acknowledged. Jim's spirit, his soul, was alive and well and whole until the last breath he drew. He showed me how to sit right in the middle of the fire and not get burned. He owned his power, his God-given power, throughout the worst of outside conditions. I did not know that this was possible. Jim taught me how to live, even when our body is dying. One more important question I asked Jim as we sat together those magic 3 hours. The kind of important questions I like to think about while I was waiting in doctor's offices for test results or scan results. The question is this: if you could be a dog, what kind of dog would you be? Sounds silly, I know, but it's fun to think about things like that at times like those. So I asked Jim this question, and then his eyes closed, as they often did, for moments at a time, as his body and mental processes slowed down. I watched him. I thought maybe he fell asleep. But then his eyes popped open, his eyebrows raised, and his finger pointed. He'd had it. He said, "A regal Irish setter." Perfect. Absolutely perfect. Jim personified the serenity prayer. He accepted the things he couldn't change. He showed courage and changed the things he could. And he was the wisdom to know the difference. I love and have been fortified by the vibrant life and elegant death of my friend Jim Magnum.